Okay, welcome back. So this time what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at loading and saving data, specifically the resources, the amount of resources we have, so the integers of things like seagrass, and all of our other resources, their numbers, so that if we die or reload the game, we'll get it all back. Now this video will be going very quickly and we'll be covering quite a lot, so I've had no choice but to kind of keep the speed going, but less cuts than I usually do in videos, because otherwise it'll become quite difficult to keep up with the code. So let's get started. Okay, so first thing I do is I want to create the buttons for saving and loading for the UI, which will call our specific functions or whatever for loading and saving. So it's very simple buttons that will call that specific functions within those scripts. Okay, so what we're doing is creating a script for saving, specifically the player's data, and then what we're going to do is we don't need the mono behavior because it isn't an element of the game, so we can get rid of the methods as well. We fill our class with some variables such as score, which will hold our seagrass integer. Then we create our syntax for the data constructor and take our player score script. Then we store our seagrass integer from the player score script into the variable score, and then add system.serializable, which means that we can save our data to the file. Next, we want to create a script for saving the system, and again we get rid of the mono behavior and the methods. We make a class static, which means we don't need to instantiate. We add system.io so that we can work with files on our operating system. We add the system runtime serialization formatter binary so that we can format our data to binary later. We make a save function and get our player score script as player. Then we create the binary formatter to use. Then we choose where to save with the string associated with the current operating system, and then name the save file and type. In my case, I named it player. I named the type save and just the name of the save itself as player. Then we're going to create a file stream, which is a stream of data in a file and is used to write and read to a file. We're going to create a variable type stream that is equal to a new file stream with a path and file mode which creates a file. We need to get the player data script and call it data, and then have it equal to the new data variable, then pass it to the player, which runs the data in our player script data because of the constructor. Add formatter.serialize, which means we can write the data to the file, input the stream variable and our data. Finally, close the stream as we are not adding any more data to the file. Now that our code for saving is completed, now we want to be able to load. We need a load player function for our player data called player load, but we'll leave the void out because we are returning data when loading. Then, similar to before, we need to get a path from earlier. Then check if the file already exists with that path, and if it does not exist, then give an error message with the path shown and return null. If we find a file, then as we did in the save code, open the binary formatter. Then write file stream equal to a new stream and get the path, and do the file mode open instead of create, as the file already exists. Then formatter.deserialize so it gets converted from binary to readable format. Then we just need to give it the stream, store it as data and cast it as player data, return the data and close the stream. Now with the save and load code finished, I can choose where to trigger the save and load. In my case, I want to put it in my game manager and place it on buttons. Of course, this can always be changed later, and I can always put the load and save as different actions. I can place them wherever I want. In the game manager, I will set up two public functions so that I can call them when a button is pressed. First, the save function. Use savesystem.savePlayer as it is a static class function and give it the player score we want to save. Then, very similar to what we just did, we want to create another function for the load with savesystem.loadPlayer. Then we need to get the data and update our current data, in our case the seagrass score. Then we choose the variable data we want to load in. On our button we want to add the click event and trigger the functions we just created. Then let's see if it's worked. As you can see, I can save and load without an issue. This also makes sure that when the player dies and their health is either below or equal to 0, that the game reloads the scene, and when the scene is reloaded, that our data for the seagrass score are loaded with it. I decided the player will not be able to load manually and deleted the load button. I'll leave the save as it is. I removed the load player function in Game Manager script and placed it in the score script, and added all the other resource scores to the player score and player data script, ready to be saved and loaded. And finally, this is what we've ended up with. So, we finally have a save and load feature in the game. There was a lot more explaining in this video that I had to do because the code was very different to what I'm usually doing. So I had to explain it a lot more, and hopefully it isn't too much. Hopefully I did an okay job at explaining everything as I went. Next time what we'll be looking at is animation, adding some new animations to our fish and just a new look to things. Maybe we'll also look at having random size to different aspects of our game, so different aspects of our fish. Maybe islands have different random size between a certain max or minimum. See you next time.